Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill. And as usual, we have is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers, the two best co-hosts I have on the podcast out there for any football sim game out there today. So how you doing, guys?
Very good. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Fantastic. And I just want to know what other sim football game podcasts you listen to, because I don't know if I even know of any.
Well, actually, there's one out there for Madden. I didn't get to mention it earlier, but there's one for Madden where they're trying to do like maybe not a review of the league that they're in. I got to find it. It's not the same. It's just not the same.
Madden stinks. So
yeah,
I don't even count. I don't even count that.
Exactly.
I thought there was originally some league called the ZNFL or something that some people talked about. I never found that, but
Is that the zombie league?
yeah, I don't know what it is. I just heard about that a few weeks.
I don't know. Never found that one either.
It was either someone said it either in the discussion on the emails or the forum. I forget which, and I never found that league. But allegedly, there was another podcast being done in that league. And someone speculated, Mark, that you were involved in both of them. I don't know.
No, I have no idea about that one. If it's not set up with my.
Is that why? Well, that's probably why Mark gets ours out. About halfway through the week's games.
Hey, I'm trying. I'm getting better. Don't judge me. Don't judge me. I knew I was waiting for someone to say that. Damn it.
I keep thinking this week in NFL, it's like this week and a half in the NFL.
Yeah. We're working on it. I need more staff. Okay.
I know. I blame Charlie. Yeah. He needs to raise the debt ceiling.
Yeah, Charlie, you need to raise the debt ceiling over here. We need to add to our budget, so we gotta get this stuff done. So. All right, we are going into week 10. Actually finishing up week 9 games, moving into week 10. It was a critical game for some teams. Some teams made the grade, some teams didn't. There were some upsets. And we're just going to go ahead and run through all of them. And we're also going to talk about our rematch, our Super Bowl rematch that was out there as well. So without further ado, we are going to start with the first game that we have on the list. We have Kansas City hosting Jacksonville, and Kansas City walked away with a 17-14 victory. We're going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, this was surprisingly close. Jacksonville played this game pretty tough. Captain Kirk went 20 for 38 with 199 yards, interception with 2 touchdowns. And Jacksonville did some pretty good rushing as well. And, they played Kansas City tough. And Kansas City had to sweat this one out and win tough. Can't overlook any teams in this league, not even the 1-8 teams.
Agreed. Mitch, what happened in your game, Coach?
Well, I was not expecting the daring strategy by Jacksonville to go for it on their fourth downs inside of their own territory. So that was a little bit of an adjustment my team had to make during the game. And so Jacksonville was able to hold on to the ball a little longer than I would like for them to have done. But you know what? End of the day, all that counts is I won, and just thank goodness old Darius Anderson was able to get 2 touchdowns across the goal line and take the victory. So we'll take it, and we'll move on to Atlanta this week.
All right. Next game we have New York Jets hosting Indianapolis, and the Jets, as pretty much everybody figured out, took this game 23-16, so way closer than the 13.5-point spread that was advertised. Mitch.
Oh, man. I hope y'all watch this, because Mike Edwards was an absolute beast for that Indianapolis defense. He had 7 tackles, interception, a sack. I mean, he was a one-man gang, and unfortunately, it takes all 11 to beat, or I guess all 22 to beat the Jets. And fortunately, old Mike Edwards just couldn't do it by himself. So, Jets, squeak through another subpar game for Mac Jones this week. So, Dean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes all 46 active players to beat the Jets. This was a very close game, just like the last one we talked about. And, the Jets survived by a touchdown, and they get the win. I guess that's all that counts at this point. And win close, as long as you're winning, it's better than losing.
I agree. Next game, Pittsburgh hosting Vegas, which is, I think I predicted Pitt was going to sweep this series, and they ended up taking this game 16-12. Dean.
Yeah, this is a very close game, and I think once again it shows that the Raiders still have some work to do on offense. I mean, their defense did fairly well, only giving up 16 points. But the offense only mustered up 12 points, which I believe was 2 touchdowns without extra points or 2-point conversions that converted. And that's not quite enough. And total 245 yards of offense, 104 yards of rushing, 141 yards of passing, which is not really much. I don't know that you win very often with under 150 yards of passing. So I think definitely some more rethinking of how to run the offense is taking place in Las Vegas.
Mitch.
Well, I tell you what, Las Vegas, moved the team from Oakland to Vegas, that new stadium. I think, inside that stadium, they must have built the Heartbreak Hotel, because this is at least the third game this year where the Raiders seem to have done enough to win the game, yet somehow ended up, just a hair shy. Lost this game due to a pick six. But that pick six only happens because Pittsburgh, with massive, super hands, Oren Burks with that big pick six. And, actually, I'm very familiar with Oren Burks. He was actually part of my organization out of college. So glad to see he's still having success. I tell you what, that Pittsburgh defense, they've had a linebacker player of the game. They've had their defensive tackle player of the game a few weeks this year. I mean, that's looking like the 72 Steelers right now, being that they can't really move the ball, but boy, they don't allow you to move the ball on the other team. So we'll see what Pittsburgh can do the rest of the season.
Okay. Interesting take from both of you guys. Next game that we have is Washington going into Anaheim. And Anaheim, I told you guys what was going to happen with Anaheim, and it actually came through. So Anaheim ended up losing this game 8-27 or 27-8, however you want to flip it. Mitch.
And, Kyler Murray, solid day out there, kind of managing the game. Didn't really have to do too much. Anaheim not very good this year. But Kyler, hit that 263, couple of touches. The running game was spread out. Guys did lead the way there with about 89 yards. I mean, that just balanced, solid, nothing super spectacular. But just completely put the stranglehold on Anaheim. But what do you think, Dean?
Solid balanced offense by Jerry's Redskins, but the defense was excellent. They held Anaheim to just 75 yards running the ball, and held Joshua Dobbs to just 113 yards of passing, which led to that. I assume that was a single score with a 2-point conversion, and that's all the Rams could come up with. And yes, it's 2-point conversion here, so they scored once and converted 2 points, and that doesn't get it done against certainly the Redskins. You know that Jerry's team is definitely going to score in double digits. So if you can only come up with 8 points, you're not going to win.
Heck, I don't even know if they gets it done against Seattle, Dean. I mean,
Hey. Moving on, we have New York. Trust me, he'll pick on me later. Trust me. Moving on, we have New York hosting Detroit, and Detroit walked away with a 34-28 victory. Dean.
Yeah, this is another game in the classic series of matchups between the Giants and the Lions, and this was a close game. And I believe I was expecting, if I remember right, the Giants to win this game, but Detroit just did a little bit better. They did enough better. Their running game was certainly better, and that should be a strength of the Giants. And balanced offense definitely carries the day, and the Detroit scored more points and won the game. So that's a good win for them, and I think Detroit is still not out of it. They're a young team, and they may struggle at times, but they can still put up some points and win games.
Mitch.
Well, I'm still, the Dean's curse of announcing that the Giants are going to make the Super Bowl, I think, is, rearing its ugly head again here. Barkley, another subpar day. I think it's a couple of, maybe 2 out of the last 3 weeks where Barkley has really hit the skids on there. But, when you look at Detroit, efficient. Zonovan fly by day, run by night, scored 2 touchdowns to help lead that Lions offense. And, what else you say here? I mean, it's the Lions continue to kind of hang around, and, who knows, right? Maybe they find a way to sneak in there with all those rookies. You never know.
When did I say the Giants are going to the Super Bowl? I don't remember saying that.
Oh my gosh, you don't remember the show like 3 weeks ago? I thought you were christening them as the NFC champ. Maybe I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
I said that they'd be competitive and have a chance to make postseason. I didn't predict any success in the postseason necessarily.
Gotcha. Okay. So I stand correct.
Boy, you are definitely amped up on something down there today, ain't you? Or aren't you?
What do you mean?
He is on trash talking. Let's roll the tape back, pull it up, and throw it at you and say, "Here."
Yeah, let's just. I want receipts. What are you talking about?
Oh my goodness!
Mark, I told you I've been in a business conference here this week, and I have to sit still all day long. So I'm letting my energy out tonight.
Yeah, so he's a little amped over there, guys.
Yeah.
So next game
we're recording this. I'm actually live in downtown Atlanta in the Marriott Marquis Hotel. So just kind of hanging out. So anyway,
there you go.
Let's keep rolling.
All right, next game we have. Before we go into this one, I'm gonna put it out there, Coach Mox. I will no longer be your lucky rabbit's foot. Well, again, I might. So that was a personal message that he sent to me, because next game is New England hosting New Orleans, and we pretty much, I think all 3 of us had picked New Orleans to take this victory, and Coach Mox went to town on them and took this game 34-7. Mitch.
Wow, I tell you what. I think if Dean's the curse for the Giants, I'm the curse for the Saints, because I was really riding high on them. But wow, New England really took them off track. Finley, a really strong day out there, went to town there on the Saints defense, which is probably the biggest surprise. As the Saints have seemed under Coach Perez to play some pretty solid defense, but Finley went a little nuts there, throwing for 291, 2 touchdowns, rushing game was old Singletary, kind of that three-headed monster of Singletary, Mack, and Chubb, all over 40 yards rushing apiece. And so they even brought it pretty well on the defense, 6 sacks on the defensive side. So, Dean, what did you see?
Yeah, I'm going to focus on that play of the game, Ryan Finley. I think he's out to prove to the Jets that they should not have traded him. And he's had some good games this year, and if I remember right, he's pretty high up in the passing stats league wide. Now the Patriots had balanced offense, good rushing that you mentioned, solid passing, and they had 36 minutes and 52 seconds time of possession, and that kept the Saints offense sitting on the bench and controlled the game, and it's a big win for them. And the Patriots are still not out of it either.
Yep, they're definitely moving along. So, as it was told to me, they want me to keep picking against them because I am their, that was their lucky rabbit's foot, as they called it. So, moving on, we have, and here comes the fun from Mitch. Minnesota hosting Seattle, and they ended up taking this game 27-13. I will say before they lean into me, the players did not mess this up. It was the coach. I will take full responsibility for my game planning and setting everything up. I made the mistakes, so I can't fault the players because the players followed my plan, and my plan was Mitch.
Well, first of all, I will agree with everything you just said. Because unless the players' ratings change dramatically, the performance of the players, the result of that planning, and apparently Minnesota had a better plan than Seattle this week, and I am going to fall short just for Barney's sake. I'm going to just come just a little short of saying, the Vikings are back, because every time I keep saying the Vikings are going to be back, something crazy happens. So Barney, gonna do you a favor, and I'm not gonna say that. However,
Vikings are back.
It's been impressive to see Minnesota the last few weeks, and even though their record might not be where they want it to be at right now, that scoring defense, it's tough to score on Minnesota out there, and if they can get this offense going, they had Jackson threw for over 300 yards, made some mistakes coming back to Minnesota, but if they can get Jackson and that offense, just decent play out of that offense with the defense that Minnesota usually carries. They're going to be tough. They're going to be tough there. Dean, what did you see?
Yeah, I saw the same thing. Jackson threw for 302 yards. He threw 52 times and completed 32 passes at 62%. But, the 2 interceptions. And Zach Wilson apparently had a tough day, going 9 for 24 for a total of 38%. That's, that looks like something Trey Lance could have turned in for a performance. And what do you think was why your offense struggled in this game, Mark? What is...
Not mixing it up the way that I should have mixed it up. Probably recycling the old plan and trying to modify an old plan and didn't modify it up enough. The play selection on both sides of the ball. I mean, it started off decent with an interception, a pick six, but it was all downhill after that. After the initial pick six, I'm like, okay, we're on a roll. And it was like, yeah, no, we're not. No, we're not. So it was just mainly it was a older profile that I tried to adjust and modify. The sims, I didn't do enough simming like I would normally, like I was trying to do the past couple of weeks. The play selection, and it just ended up being a hastily thrown out. A majority of it was basically recycled. That was pretty much it. Was recycled.
let's summarize this up then.
It was a
Mark.
recycle. It was a recycled plan. I'll tell you what
Yeah.
it is. It was a recycled plan.
Well, recycling is supposed to
So
be good.
basically, yeah. So basically, garbage in, and you had garbage out.
Pretty
So
much.
I think that answers the question. So let's get to our games of the week.
There you go. We'll just move on from there. So, final two games that we have on the list, we have Chicago and San Francisco, and that was a very low scoring game, but Chicago ended up taking this game 10-6. Dean.
Yeah, this is definitely defensive struggle. But the one thing I'm seeing here, Chicago had 364 yards of total offense, but they could only come up with 10 points from that. So, the 49ers played some very good bend but don't break defense and held the Cardinals to just 10 points. But where was the 49ers offense? They just could score two field goals. They couldn't put it in the end zone and didn't sustain many drives. Total of 194. Granted, Chicago plays pretty tough defense. But, close game. San Francisco had some chances. It would have been a really good upset and really enhanced the chances of the 49ers making a postseason appearance. But tough loss. Close, but, Chicago gets a close win, and the way things are going in the league now, sometimes that's good enough. You get the W and move forward.
Mitch.
I thought the interesting thing about this game is the fact that Sam Darnold, who has been a multi-time Player of the Week winner, had a decent game. Nothing to write home about as far as throwing the ball, but he actually led the team in rushing attempts and in rushing yards with 57. So it's not often that you see a quarterback lead the team in rushing attempts out there. But then you look at the San Francisco. Similar, Joe Burrow. Granted, San Francisco ended up not having quite as many rushing attempts as Chicago did, but almost half of the rushing attempts for San Francisco was from the quarterback Burrow. So maybe the quarterbacks were just worn out and they couldn't make those throws, at those tight windows. I don't know, but Dean, I agree. A little lacking on the offensive side in this game.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, as we come down to the last game on our list, which is our game of the week, and it is a rematch between Atlanta and LA. And on this game, Atlanta fell short again. LA repeated again with this win of 24-21. Very entertaining game, though. We're going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, Danucci definitely looked like he was going to denuke the Chargers there in the first half. I think jumping out to a 21-7 lead. And it's looking all Falcons. I think the Chargers were able to, I can't remember if it was the end of the half or right at the beginning of the third quarter, get that score to tighten it up. But then, I don't know. The Danucci ended up getting denuked himself. They're one player of the game, but the defense was not able to withstand, the championship quarterback of Deshaun Kaiser, of which didn't have an all-pro game, but you know what? Had a very solid game management type performance, and didn't really make any major mistakes out there, and was able to withhold the Danucci onslaught early on. So, Dean, what was your take on the game?
Well, it's interesting that my new starting quarterback in his second start, my quarterback who graduated from Chattanooga State Water Aquarium Community College, wins Player of the Week, however, loses the game. And yeah, my team was up 21-7, and I thought at that point, could this actually be a win? But I know not so fast, because I always know that the Chargers or any number of other teams, but definitely the Chargers would would not be finished at 21-7 deficit. They would come back, and they did come back. And two things about this: my offense did not score in the second half, and the running game was terrible. 53 yards, or 60 yards rather total. This reminds me of a game that I played against the Chargers when I was with Kansas City back in 2038, and my team played well early in the game and built up a 25-10 lead. You know what the final score was? 26-10. Because after that 25-10 lead, my team's offense just fell apart. The defense didn't play very well. My team even missed a field goal in the second half that would have won that game. This game reminded me all too much of that, because after 21-7, the Chargers scored 17 straight points and ended up winning the game. And a big part of that is non-production of the offense in the second half. Again, just like the other game.
Yeah, devastating way to lose the game when you think you have it and you're up, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, boom, that's it, ball game. So,
yeah, you never have it until it's nearly over.
Yeah, until there's all zeros on the clock. It's not over until then. So.
That's right.
All right, so we are pivoting over into our second segment, and what we're going to do, we talked pre-show, and didn't really have anything planned, so we're going to have an open forum here. Anything that's on the guys' mind, each one of us is going to take a crack at it. I think mine's going to be real short. I kind of enjoy listening to what these two guys have to say with their knowledge and wealth of information they can send out to us. So we're going to start off with Dean. What is on your mind? What you got going on?
Yeah, so some of you noticed I posted a challenge on the forum. I think we have a deficit of effective quality short passing plays, especially in pass short left and pass short middle. I put out a challenge urging that see if anyone could develop new plays that would, against the defenses that we're currently using in the league, could put up numbers like either 75% completions at 7.5 yards or 85% completions at least 6.5 yards, or maybe even something like, I believe I said 70% completions at 8 yards per catch. And Rich answered and pretty much said, well, some of those plays are out there in the game plan, and you'll have to identify those. Well, I've done enough testing, and I'm sure he has as well. Against the defense that we're currently using, there are almost no plays. And note I said on the challenge to do it without time passes, without using time passes. There are almost no plays that in short passing that will put up those kinds of numbers against our current defensive schemes. And, then I responded to Rich and I said, well, I already answered that question about what plays in our current play pool are even close to that. And basically it's the KC slot plays will often do close to 85% for somewhere between, 6.5, maybe sometimes 7 yards per catch. And among the short passing plays that are check receiver, they're not anywhere near those numbers. They will either be closer to 60% completions for maybe 7 or 8 yards, if that. And some of them will be closer to like 50% completions for 7 or 8 yards. And basically those numbers don't get the job done. And I think that's why part of why scoring is way down. And Jerry said something about that he didn't think it, if I understood that right, should be possible, because to have plays that were that effective, because we could just stop playing the game because offenses would be almost automatic. I don't think offenses would be automatic, but they just would be a bit more effective than they are now. But, I'll leave the challenge out there. Yeah. Can someone design some new pass and short plays that are better than what's in the pool now? Because everything that's in the pool now has been tested, and it's not meeting those standards, except for occasionally your team might play someone whose defense isn't very good, and you might have some short passing plays that, might go 3 out of 4 for 8 yards. And so, oh, yeah, that's 75% of 8 yards. And that play won't consistently do that week in and week out. You might do it this week against one team, but, you play Chicago next week, and that play is 38% completed for 5 yards. So that one play doesn't make the grade, and even if it occasionally will do well against a team that plays fairly suspect defense. What do you two think?
I think what do I think on this? Well, here's my thought: is that I don't think if teams around the league prepare and do some minor scouting and adjust their game plans each week a little bit, etc., based on what they believe their opponent is going to do. I think it is going to be tough to design a play that would meet those criterias against every defense in the league. I know every week as I'm preparing, I come across plays that would meet those criteria every week, and it's not always the same plays. And out there, and so I don't know if there's necessarily a dire need. Um, well, I'll say this: I think I think there's some opportunity to maybe have some addition, some plays that could do those kinds of that kind of work in the play pool. Where I see the bigger issue with the current plays in the play pool is that we have, like I said, we have plays that can do that or can at least get some semblance of that. But so many of our plays in the play pool right now have a lot of the same concepts built into them, which I think is more of the reason why defenses are catching up, or arguably are catching up to the offense, because a lot of plays that a lot of teams use in their game plans, as you watch the games or as you do any kind of scouting, around the league, a lot of them are those little quick time passes, whether it's those little quick zips or those little quick slot plays. And even though there are some teams that have created some more of those little slot plays, they just call it something else and they just move the little hook, another inch or two to the left or the right. But it's basically the same thing. Or the other play that seems to be very popular in a lot of playbooks are the plays where, two or three receivers just basically run streaks, and there's that drag coming across the middle at either 5 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, whatever the case might be. And so, I think that might be a little bit more of the issue, is that there are plenty of plays in the play pool, but it seems as if a lot of teams have fallen in love with a lot of the plays that have the same concept. And if a defensive coach, has any, any ability of scouting and adjusting, they're going to do that, which is why I think we've seen some pretty wild swings and scores this year. So that's my take on it, Dean.
I think a lot of what you're saying is true, and the last couple of weeks I've worked on some new ideas, and sometimes the new ideas just seem to fall flat. The other thing I noticed is that, especially, I mean, this is more true with short passing plays and medium passing plays. You can create medium passing plays, and they have a little more time to develop. But with short passing plays, I tried to create plays. Again, check receiver, not time pass. Time passes, you can have a receiver run a short pattern and have the quarterback immediately throw the ball to him. You can do that on a time pass, but on a check receiver play, have a couple of receivers run some short patterns, and your hope is that the quarterback is going to immediately check that receiver and throw to him, and the quarterback doesn't do it. I've even had plays where the quarterback sits there and looks at the first two receivers, doesn't do anything, and then throws it deep to the third or fourth receiver that I have streaking down the field. It's like it's really hard on short passing plays to get the quarterback to very quickly and almost immediately throw the ball to a receiver running a short route. It seems like it's almost impossible to do that. I don't know why it is.
Well, I think one of the things that we will see, I hope, that will impact some of what you're saying, particularly, I think, on some of these non-timed short routes is that if we truly do begin to see a wider variation in player ratings and cornerbacks for the most part, or at least the top three cornerbacks on most teams, aren't maxed out in some of those key ratings. I think we're going to be able to see some wide receivers get a little bit more, be a little, a little bit more quicker separation on some of those, little routes on the inside, or maybe able to get a little bit more separation on those outs and whatnot, and we'll see that. I mean, right now, um, I mean, like I said, there are plays that you can design, but separation really doesn't happen that long, on the short routes because it's tougher to seems to be tougher to fool the corners if they're if on that piece of it. But I don't know. Who knows? Maybe
Well,
I'm wrong, but I think that could be part of it.
I have two answers to that. One is, in theory, what you're saying sounds true and sounds like it may take place. But if someone's WR4 is, say, 81 speed or even 80, and the other team's fourth cornerback is maybe 80 speed or 78, they may still match up well and they still manage to get open. The other thing I noticed is I tried to, once again, experiment a little bit with some short passing plays that you use fakes. I tried to have a receiver run 5 yards downfield and throw a fake, or I had even tried one where the receiver immediately threw a fake and then ran 5 yards downfield. And sometimes the fake attracts the quarterback to throw to him, but often it still doesn't. But the defenders are never faked. Never. I mean, even at one point when Charlie had put out that message several weeks ago that he signaled kind of loosening the rules on fakes and even suggested, I even made a couple just to experiment, a couple blatantly illegal plays where, like the old AI buses from years ago where one receiver would fake and the other receiver would be nearby, and the fake would freeze both the defenders, and then the guy that was supposed to cover the other receiver would be frozen by the fake, and he gets wide open and catches it. And people used to create passes like that before it became illegal and have high completion percentage. Well, the thing is, even trying that as an experiment, it didn't work because I think in many cases, the intelligence ratings of our defensive players are all in the 80s and 90s, and they don't get faked. You can fake all day long, and they don't get faked.
Well, they've all passed the Wonderlic test with the perfect score.
Yeah, but let me make this one more comment. In the older leagues, we had much wider variation in like intelligence and discipline. You had cornerbacks with like 55 intelligence or 80, 81 or 67. And some people would draft quarterbacks based on the athletic ratings, and they say, well, I don't care. He has 55 intelligence. Well, your 55 intelligence quarterback gets faked out more often and gets beat by the wide receiver throwing fakes and doing things like that. Huh? And so there's a degree to which our ratings are so homogenized across the board.
Yeah.
That when all of the players, even your eighth cornerback on your roster has an intelligence rating that's only 2 points ahead of the best corner, behind the best cornerback in the league, no one gets faked out. Fakes don't work. Cuts don't work the way they should. A lot of things don't work because our ratings are so homogenized.
All right. Well, so Mark, you heard it here. PNFL coaches, y'all heard it here. Dean and I have come to an agreement that our rating scale needs to continue to have separation, particularly in our non-physical categories. So I think
these ratings are like
we finally found something we can agree on.
Yeah, these ratings are like milk. They're hyper pasteurized and homogenized.
Mark, what are you thinking tonight, man?
Well, what I am thinking is I agree with the plays that the plays have been out there long enough, and I think we do need a new influx of offensive plays out there. I think the defenses are definitely getting in tune to it. So adding some new offensive plays to try to put a wrinkle in on it. I made mention early on before about adjusting the stats. I mean, when I first entered the league, I saw the numbers. I was seeing numbers in the 90s, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute, we're in the 80s. Like, yep, this is where it's at. And I understand after being in the league for a while, doing the show, talking to a couple of coaches off to the side, the interview that I had with Charlie and with Rich, and just that conversation, understand the reasons why they pulled those numbers down. Now, personally, and I was only one person, I would like to see the numbers be adjusted a little bit higher. But again, I know there's reasons why he did it, but maybe, just maybe, he could loosen it up a little bit. But again, it's something that, it has to be looked at and discussed. I think the numbers, I think it should be, I'm on the same page with Mitch that the numbers need to be a little bit varied, because, it's pretty much, and we've had this conversation before, it comes down to the profiles and to the plays. It's not so much of the players, because the players are pretty much equal across the board. But, if you want to make this more realistic, you have some teams that have that superstar player out there with those high-end numbers, and you have some other teams that are in the middle of the pack. You have some that are in the lower tier. So probably adjust it a little bit more to bring that variant out there, that variety. So would I like to see the numbers change a little bit more? Yes. But I do know that, with that being said, right now, the way it's sitting right now, it all comes down to picking the right plays, designing new plays on both sides of the ball, and that's what pretty much drives it. I don't think I ran into any issues with the AI busting plays. I think pretty much most stuff was cleared out. I think I had one play early in the league that was a questionable one, but that was from everyone that got pulled out. So, but I do think going forward that those numbers need to be adjusted and changed out to make it a little bit more varied, and definitely generate some new offensive plays, because the defense is definitely catching up. So that's my little 2 cents on that. So,
right.
Yep. So we are going to go ahead, because we're cooking right along here, and we're going to go ahead and move into our final segment, which is basically getting our games picked for the upcoming games. And as we move into this, as you guys know, we each have our own lead pipe lock. So we got all our list out, and we have a couple of pick'em games. So we're going to go through those as well. So starting off with the first game, we have Pittsburgh hosting the Jets. Sporting Books is giving the Jets 13.5. We're going to start with you, Mitch.
Oh boy. It's always interesting to see how some of these games are going to end up going. And as I think about that 72 Pittsburgh defense, I don't. The 72 Jets, weren't all that good. I don't think. I think this Jets team is better. So I'm going to go with the Jets this week. There, Mark.
All right, Mitch. Dean. I'm looking at.
Pittsburgh is going to play tough defense and keep this game close. I still think the Jets will prevail, but that spread is too big. The Jets are not going to cover that spread against Pittsburgh.
All right, I am going to keep it simple, picking the Jets. Next game we have on our list, we have Chicago hosting New England. They are giving Chicago 13.5. We are going to start with you, Dean.
It would be easy to pick an upset or pick this game to be close, but Chicago scored 10 points against the 49ers last week. They're not going to be held to 10 points by any team this week, no matter who they played. I say that Chicago is going to win and actually cover the spread on this game.
Okay, Mitch.
I am going to go. I'm going to go Chicago. I think Chicago is due for a breakout this week, and I think New England's going to be the recipient of that.
Okay, I'll keep it mine simple. And yes, I'll play Coach Mox's Rabbit's Foot again. I am picking Chicago as well. Next game we have is our first pick'em game. We have Anaheim hosting Jacksonville, and it is listed as a pick'em game. So we're going to jump over to you, Mitch.
Jacksonville and well, you know what? I just played Jacksonville, and I've seen Anaheim play a few times, and I'm going to have to go with Jacksonville. Even though both teams are struggling mightily, I think Jacksonville is the better 1-8 team right now. So I'm going Jacks.
All
Not
right.
so fast. Not so fast. Joshua Dobbs is going to remind us this week that his career is not over. He's not finished. He's going to lead the Rams to a win over Jacksonville. Rams win.
Okay. I am going to go on that same train with Mitch. I think something's going to happen this week. I think they're going to surprise some people, and I am picking Jacksonville. Next game we have is our second pick'em of the week, and we have Detroit hosting Indianapolis. So we're just going to jump right into this. Dean.
Yeah, I'm picking the upset here. I think Detroit is going to surprise some people in this game, and they're going to win a close game at home.
Okay. Mitch.
Yeah, I think Detroit's been playing a little bit better balanced football here recently. It's so I'm going to take Detroit.
Okay. I'm going to go on the opposite side. I'm going to pick Indy to win this game this week. Next game, Battle of the Host. We have Atlanta hosting KC. They are giving KC 8.5. We're going to start with you, Mitch.
Well, I mean, what do you do here, right? I mean, visiting the defending NFC champions, the dome will be rocking. I'm sure that the Falcons will be in those, Wyatt Earp black uniforms going on out there. Pretty intimidating atmosphere. It's going to be tough. I will pick the Chiefs just because you just can't pick against yourself. I'm not Pete Rose, but it it might as well be a pick'em game.
All right. Dean.
Yeah, the Falcons will be back in black, and this may be an upset, but I think the home team will find a way to score at least one more point than the Chiefs in this game.
All right. Keep it mine simple. I got to pick between the two hosts. I think it's going to be a close one, but I'm going with KC on this one. Next game we have Las Vegas hosting LA. They are giving LA 6.5. Dean.
Yeah, this I think is the game you want to bet on this week. And this is going to be my lead pipe lock, and the Raiders are going to put their offense together and make it happen. This will be a Raiders win, lead pipe lock.
All right. Mitch.
Uh, hmm. I think this will be an interesting game. I'm going to go with the Chargers, but I think it's going to be closer than that spread indicates. But I think the Chargers will. I think Kaiser will keep them on the winning streak.
All right. I am going to go with the Chargers, keeping it simple and moving on. Next game we have the New York Giants hosting Minnesota. They are giving Minnesota 7.5. Mitch.
Ooh, man alive! Well, I can't even say it. I already said I'm not going to say it. But I will just say this. I think Barkley will have another rough game. I think the Minnesota defense will bottle him in. Lamar Jackson will keep the mistakes at a minimum, and Minnesota wins this game.
There's a reason why you're not going to say it, because you actually know that Lamar Jackson will make some fatal mistakes. So you know that Barkley is going to dominate the game, and you know that the Giants are going to win. Bet on the Giants here. The Giants are going to win.
All right. I'm going to keep it simple here. I played Minnesota. I know that they're going to be definitely getting themselves planned and getting themselves set up, doing their scouting and running their sims. I am going to pick Minnesota, and in addition to picking Minnesota, they are going to be my lead pipe lock for the week. So, next game that we have on the list, New Orleans hosting San Francisco. They are giving San Francisco 4.5. Dean.
Yeah, I know I've always said that San Francisco wins close games and often doesn't cover the spread. I think San Francisco will be solid in this game, and they will cover that spread. This is going to be a 49ers win. Pretty solid win.
All right. Mitch.
Normally I would want to say New Orleans would win this game, but they haven't been playing so well the last few weeks. San Francisco, on the other hand, hasn't necessarily been playing that well either, though their games have been closer. It's at New Orleans. You know what? I'm going to pick New Orleans. I'm going to go New Orleans. I think that they'll find a way to get themselves back on track this week.
All right. I'm just going to, like I said, everything else quickly and easy. I am going to pick San Francisco to take the victory this week. Last game on the list, tall order again. We have Washington hosting Seattle. They are giving Washington 14.5. Mitch.
Well, rumor has it that Washington might sit their quarterback out this week just to give him some rest, since they've pretty much locked up the division already. They don't want to chance getting any injuries. So the game might be a little closer than what the Rich Sports book has predicted, but I'm still going to have to go with Washington.
All right. Dean.
I'm not buying that at all. Jerry's not risking a starting quarterback. I think the Seahawks will play this game tough. It will be like what I said about the first game about the Jets winning and not covering the spread. The Redskins, I do believe, are going to win, but the Seahawks will prevent them from coming anything close to covering that spread.
All right. So I will say this. We will be prepared. So as soon as we wrap up here, I will be going back into the dungeon and pulling some stuff out. So being that I am not a Pete Rose, I always try to be an optimistic person. So I'm throwing my rainbow sprinkles and fairy dust in the air, and I am picking the Seahawks. Go Hawks.
Hey, Mark, did I get my lead pipe lock in this week?
No, you skipped over it. I was going to add that correction in there, but it's already been posted on the screen, so everyone has seen it on the screen. But you want to go ahead and make it official? Go ahead and call it.
Well, yeah, I'm my lead pipe lock going to be Detroit this week.
Oh, it's not going to be Jacksonville, huh?
No, we're going to go with Detroit this week. I'm going to switch it up.
Oh,
but you know what? If it's already on the screen, though, I don't want to mess up the graphic. So we'll go Jacksonville as a lead pipe lock, and we'll say Detroit is my your
platinum
lead pipe lock this week.
Your platinum or your silver?
Yeah, my platinum. Yeah, they're my double platinum. Call me at 900 bets, and you'll get that play.
All right.
I think we need a special counsel appointed.
There you go.
This is a scandal.
All right, guys, we are wrapping this thing up. We're coming up on the 1 hour mark, so we're trying to stay underneath that ceiling. So we're coming to wrapping this thing up. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Any final words you have over there, Dean?
No, I think just good luck to everyone in the games this week.
All right. Mitch, anything you got before you take us home?
I tell you, another fun week. I think this will be some more interesting games. Let's try to get those PPPs in early, so I'm not staying up late on the East Coast trying to see how things turn out. But that's just my selfish request. But other than that, let's get it.